Let me hear it really quick.
Did I?
I'm going to listen to the stream audio.
Well, if you're over there listening to the stream audio, how will you be talking in order to make there be stream audio to listen to? It's a catch-22. It's you're backing yourself into a corner here, Kyle. I think you're going to get caught into some sort of time loop, and we're all going to be screwed. I just listened to it briefly here, and I think it sounds awesome. Besides that, anyway, we're live on YouTube. So hi, everyone, and welcome to Awesome Hardware. This is... What?
It's like weird, like kind of hissing, kind of sounds like a washer or dryer in the background, but it's definitely not. It's not the AC or anything, because we always run the AC and it's never been a problem. It's something different. But it sounds like some mic...
I think it's fine. I heard it there.
There, my mic's unmuted now.
Oh, you muted yourself.
Yeah, just when I went in that room. But let me double check the mixing board. This is how we love to start all of our shows.
Hi everyone, and welcome
to a bit of troubleshooting.
Awesome Hardware. This is a live show. We talk about technology.
Really? Did you have to say it was live? Isn't that pretty obvious right now?
We talk about live streaming technology, and we always practice what we preach and only use the best possible hardware and software solutions for both of it. The mic's charged up.
Yeah, mics are
good. God.
The hell?
Wow.
You don't think it's another mic that's on, do you? That wouldn't make sense, would it?
You can just turn all those down, because they don't need to be on, right?
Right. There's no like stupid webcam mic that's recording.
Yeah, so are we...
We haven't done anything different from any other stream here. Did she just say something?
Well, I thought I heard her say something.
Probably a cry for help.
All right, good.
She'll work it out.
What? What's missing?
Still hissing? Okay. Well, what I could do... This would only take literally 60 seconds. All I have to do is grab this microphone.
We're just going to switch mics while we're live?
Oh yeah. Do it all the time. It always works out. You know, walk in front of the camera, set up the boom.
You know, there's a decent amount of people in chat who say that it's just fine.
Today's episode will be showing you some behind the scenes footage of how we get shit done around here on the stream. We're not doing this because we're not prepared. We just wanted to give you some bonus behind the scenes footage.
I would go so far as to say that the majority of people in chat are saying that it's just fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, should we just ignore the haters?
Your wife is obviously just trying to sabotage my half of the show.
She might be.
By gaslighting us and telling us that there is some sort of hiss there when there's not.
Okay. Should we just carry on then without this?
I'm okay to do that.
Okay.
I mean, I appreciate your efforts.
I was almost done.
I don't want it to make it sound like that at all.
Everything with this was going perfectly smooth.
It was. I thought you were gonna dunk me in the head with it.
All right.
All right.
Well, if our numbers drop, then maybe we'll start looking into alternatives. But for now, carry on.
Good.
All right.
Where was I?
I don't know.
Oh yeah. Hi everyone, and welcome to Awesome Hardware.
Best episode ever.
Best episode ever. This is I'm going to do the quick version of the intro. Live show, we talk about technology. We stream every Tuesday evening. We try to start at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, but we're usually a little late. Like today, it's already 6 o'clock. Gosh, how'd that happen? But anyway, we split the show in half. We stream to twitch.tv/awesomehardware the entire show, and then we split the show in half on each of our channels. You're watching the first half of episode number 202, which is streaming on my channel, Paul's Hardware. We'll switch to Kyle's half in half an hour, give or take. And that is linked in the video's description, if and when you decide to check that out. In the meantime, if you're not already impressed by the quality of our stream, you should be. And it's probably inspired you to be like, hey, I want to spend some money on these guys. I feel like dropping some cash right in their faces. But don't just give us money, much as you might want to. Consider purchasing items on our stores. I, for instance, have some great deals going on my store right now. For instance, metallic print thumbscrew tees and lightweight hoodies are $5 off while supplies last. Metallic print is real nice. It's shiny. Gives you a little bit of bling factor without going all out with the gold like Linus tries to all the time with his stupid gold print stuff. It's way better than Linus's merch is what I'm trying to say. Heavyweight zipper hoodies are $10 off while supplies last, and I believe there's also, we're trying to we're trying to sell the rest of the lightweight hoodies. So we got some deals on lightweight hoodies going on as well. Shirts, mugs, pint glasses, it's all real high quality stuff. If you buy stuff while we're live, we will shout out your name during the after party, and you can go to paulshardware.net to buy that stuff. You can also buy stuff on Kyle's store, bitwit.tech/store. Screw with Confidence restocked. New solid navy tri-blend Screw with Confidence shirt.
What? I didn't even know we got that.
Maybe you should read John's emails, Kyle.
Maybe I should. That's nice, actually.
Yeah, it's real nice.
I want one.
Navy blue.
And it's mine.
Screw
Can
with
I just?
Confidence.
I don't even have to pay for it, right? I can just send myself one.
Yeah, well,
If you buy the shirt, you will get it before I do.
Probably, yeah. You can get it before Kyle.
That's just a big cock slap in the face to me.
I don't know why it's a cock slap specifically.
Well,
but speaking of
flexing their massive.
But speaking of which, also a word of warning: we occasionally use adult language on the show.
Oh, sorry, I thought that already was.
I don't know. I forgot to say that in my brief intro.
I just reminded you.
But now it's been said. Occasional use of adult language, and also we drink beer. Evil beer.
So evil.
But cheers, y'all. Thanks for joining us. If you're wondering what we're drinking right now, it's from Lagunitas. This is the Hazy Memory from the 2019 One Hitter series.
Hazy IPA.
Unfiltered ale. It's a hazy IPA.
I actually really like it.
It's actually pretty tasty.
It's one of the few good beers they have right now at the liquor store down the street from our house.
They were... Actually, never mind.
Oh. Okay.
Never mind.
We'll never know what Paul was about to say.
Do you want me to say it?
No. Well,
Okay.
I don't know. I usually trust you, so if you have a reason for not saying it, it's probably a good one.
Like, sometimes I have reason for things, but they're really, like, edge case scenarios, you know? It's like turning your phone off on an airplane. Like, it's not going to crash the plane.
Yeah.
But you still do it because if it were to crash your plane, wouldn't that suck?
Sure. But I'm a risk taker. Like, shit like that, if it's on that level, then you can say it.
All right, it's pretty minor. They were doing a fancy movie shoot down at the gas station down here.
Oh. Yeah, they shoot a lot around here.
We are in that area. We're roughly in the
Hollywood.
In the
We're
vicinity
like
of
right.
Hollywood.
We're on Hollywood Boulevard.
But
right
you
now.
can always tell when it's like a real movie shoot because they have like 12 vans full of gear.
Yeah.
And like several people sitting outside of each van, not seeming like they're not doing much.
Yep.
And even though it's like full daylight outside, they've got this massive diffuser with like this just like 50,000 kiloamp whatever joule bulb shining at it because they can't use the real sun. No,
of course not. They gotta be
make
fancy.
their own sun.
We gotta get one of those in here.
Freaking Hollywood.
Maybe our audio wouldn't suck if we had one of those.
No, that's what we should focus on.
That's what we're missing.
We need more realistic fake sunlight. All right, we're going to jump into the tech news for today because that seems to be the point, theoretically, of our show. We're starting off with some discussion about the AMD
Turbo
stuff.
thing.
The turbo stuff. We talked about this a little bit last week.
Yep.
It sort of percolated a bit. Some more articles have come out on it. So the article we're specifically discussing today, and all my articles are linked down in the video's description if you guys want to go and visit them directly. And I encourage you to for this one. It's a lengthier article, but it is done well. It's by Sir Ian Cuttress. He was recently knighted, by the way, by Her Majesty the Queen.
No, he was not.
I'm just gonna go with it. Sir Dr. Ian Cuttress wrote this article about AMD's turbo frequencies because that is really what it boils down to. If you're not familiar with this, there was multiple things that happened like all last week for the most part, all related to AMD, including them settling their lawsuits about bulldozer CPUs from way back in the day. That's just tangentially related, but I wanted to say tangentially because it allows me to say genitals. Intel made some remarks about AMD's performance in a slideshow. Intel made the suggestion that AMD's processors aren't going to last as long because of how they're running their processors and the frequencies they're trying to hit. AMD's enterprise marketing was doing some nonsense advertising 5 gigahertz, which really was just, it wasn't, they didn't play it very well. It wasn't the best decision, so that kind of played into it. And then, of course, there's Der Bauer, our friend Roman, who did a survey, like an informal survey of the people who watch his channel and view his content and everything, asking people, if you got an AMD Ryzen 3000 CPU, what are the frequencies that you were seeing? There were some parameters that he put out there, and it was an informal survey, but there were enough responses that it can't be dismissed out of hand. So that kind of triggered, I think, a few more articles to be written on it and a bit more discussion about it. And this article is just sort of going over this kerfuffle, as Kyle said earlier. Is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal? Is there miscommunication going on from AMD? Is there misunderstanding of how turbo even works in the general population? Answer to pretty much all these questions, according to Dr. Sir Ian, is yes. So there it is. Let's move on.
Okay.
No,
I was going to say
there are a few more details. So before I get into these details, I do want to point out that last week, actually 1 week ago, September 10th, AMD released a new version of its firmware, their AGESA as it's called. The newest version is 1003-ABBA, as we discussed last week, the ABBA release. They also did a blog post talking about the minor firmware issue, according to them, that was showing a 25 to 50 megahertz drop in turbo frequencies, which has now been fixed. Mm-hmm. This has been tested in a few places. You have to bear in mind as well that when AMD releases a AGESA code, which can update CPU microcode, but can also update other stuff with relation to the CPU or the motherboard, it's up to the motherboard manufacturer to integrate that. And it doesn't always happen immediately, so you would need to double check. Usually the motherboard manufacturers now, when they post these UEFI updates on their website, will say specifically update for AGESA 1003 ABBA or whatever. But the short of it there is that if you have a Ryzen 3000 series processor and a motherboard, presumably you have a motherboard that you're running it with, you should do this update when it's available. It should be made available for your motherboard at some point. Maybe some manufacturers are quicker than others about it, but it has been verified that yes, you're going to get a little bit more frequency, 25 to 50 megahertz, more frequency out of your processor, and that's good.
It's good for your CPU to be running at the speeds it was advertised to.
Yes. But so getting back to the article, though, it's multiple pages again. I'm not going to go over the entire thing, but I'm going to try to give a little bit of a synopsis about it. For example, Intel has defined what Turbo Boost is for quite some time because they originally introduced it, and it's been something that's been on their mainstream processors for quite some time, and their mainstream processors have been pretty universal. They were also all quad cores for quite some time, which helped with certain things like cross-comparison between the two. But the way Intel's Turbo Boost works, not to get too much into the details, is based on power limits for the chip. There's a total budget for boost state. There's multiple boost states. You have a sustained power level, so you have PL1 and PL2. He's just giving an example and some example numbers of how when you go into the boost state, you have more power, and how depending on the frequency that the CPU is running at, it might use up the available power in that boost state more quickly or less quickly. If you have more cores at higher frequencies, it's going to use up that more quickly. And then we have turbo tables, which means it's when the CPU is operating within spec, depending on the temperature and other factors, it might run at a higher frequency, and depending significantly on how many cores are currently being used, under sustained load or under heavy load. And there's also a difference between, if you're talking about, say you have a single thread that's being used in your processor, it might be there's a heavy load and there's a light load. Depends on what parts of the chip are being used, if you're using ABX instruction set or not, stuff like that. So there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that goes into determining how your processor and your Intel processor will boost. But there are some specific things to it. For example, Ian made a couple charts like this one to point out that for any given Intel processor, you have individual cores. all of those individual cores are going to be slightly different from each other, and they might be able to overclock to a certain frequency, 5.4 gigahertz or 5.1 or 5.2 or 5.0. Intel makes sure that all of its cores can hit the advertised turbo frequency. And it doesn't care which core is doing that. It might jump to one core or to a different core. And this actually ties into the way Windows is designed. The update to Windows is allowing software to set an affinity for the specific faster cores on AMD processors. Because with AMD, if you want it to run on the fastest core, then you got to tell it which core to run on. With Intel, if you want it to run at its boost frequency, which is 4.6 gigahertz in this theoretical example of an i5-9600K, any core is going to be able to hit that. There might be more overclocking headroom in some of the other cores available to you, but that's where overclockers come in, and overclockers will try to hit those frequencies on different cores. But one of the things that AMD has done, if you're familiar with any of the generations of Ryzen, if you load up the Ryzen Master software, is it will put a little star on your core, and it'll be like, that's the good core. That's the core that, that does the work.
Gold star.
If you're doing a single-threaded or maybe a two-threaded workload, that is the core that it will go to, because that core can achieve the sustained higher frequencies. Different than how Intel does it. So that's one thing where people might have had some misconception of expectation versus reality. AMD also has been binning their chips to make sure that they can achieve those boost frequencies, but the way AMD bins, they only make sure that a single core can achieve those frequencies. So here, for example, is your 3600X. They only need to achieve your 3600X's boost frequency, which is, I believe, 4.4 gigahertz, right? Yeah. 4.4 gigahertz is the advertised boost frequency for a 3600X. The way AMD does it is they only need one core to be able to hit that. So if you're going to overclock and you're suddenly like, oh, I want to do an all-core 4.4 gigahertz overclock on my 3600X, there's a decent chance you're not going to be able to do that. This is also the reason why a lot of the time it makes more sense to let AMD's chips overclock themselves or use PBO, or just their
boosting
XFR,
algorithm.
but yeah. Their boost, what do they call it? Boost, whatever the hell they call it.
XFR?
No, Precision Boost, I'm sorry.
Yeah, PBO.
It used to be called XFR, now XFR is part of Precision Boost,
Right.
so they don't really say XFR anymore.
Yeah.
So the upshot here is that AMD is shipping their chips running a little bit closer to what they're capable of, while Intel's chips seem to have a little bit more of overclocking headroom potentially available to them. As a result, people's expectations, if they've been using Intel chips, might be higher than what they're actually seeing with AMD chips. So there's multiple factors to take into consideration here. Other things to consider: turbo is not guaranteed. Neither AMD or Intel guarantees that your chip is going to be able to run at turbo frequencies for sustained periods of time. Turbo might vary based on the motherboard itself. And this seems to be particularly the case with some of AMD's. This particularly seems to be the case with some of AMD's motherboards, because as Gamers Nexus tested, wait, this isn't the page I wanted to look at. As both Hardware Unboxed and Gamers Nexus tested, I'm sorry, this is a Hardware Unboxed chart, and they found that depending on the motherboard that they popped the chip into, they're seeing higher frequencies with certain motherboards versus others. The motherboard manufacturer with Intel has the ability to tweak that second power state for turbo in order to potentially allow the chips to hit turbo frequencies more if the board is overbuilt, if the power delivery is set up the way it should be, or set up, I guess, in a more overbuilt way than the minimum standards. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, but the other stuff to take into consideration. You're using polling software to check what frequency your chip is running at. Chances are you're running something like Hardware Info or Hardware Monitor, or there's other various softwares out there that can tell you what your chip is running at. How do those softwares tell what frequency the processor is running at? Ian actually talked to, I forget the name, but he talked to one of the developers of, I believe, Hardware Info, talking about what they have to do on the software level in order to get that frequency from the CPU. And the answer is you have to tell the CPU to do something in order to monitor that frequency. That means if you're checking your CPU's frequency on say the millisecond level, your CPU might be changing the frequency on the microsecond level. So your CPU might have switched frequency. It might be hitting a higher frequency, but just doing it so quickly and bouncing back to a lower clock state.
It's pulling too slowly
that
to see it.
You're never seeing it. So that's another factor that you need to take into consideration. So you might think, all right, well, let's pull the CPU more often. Tell it to update that score more frequently. Well, every time you do that, you have to run an operation on the CPU. That is what is known as the observer effect, or observer. That's the observer bias, which is that by observing something, by looking at it, and in this case by looking at what the frequency is, you're introducing more work to the CPU, and at a certain point that's going to affect the CPU's frequency potentially in and of itself. So there's lots of factors to take into consideration when you're looking at stuff like this. He also does a nice sort of rundown of Roman's survey, giving both the pros and the cons from the way he did it. There's certain things, like for example, Roman went out and asked his fans, like, hey guys, test your AMD CPU, see what frequencies it's hitting, and send that information to me in this survey. There's a higher chance that people who are unsatisfied or who are being more critical of their AMD CPU's performance are going to answer in that survey than people who are just running their CPU and think nothing's wrong and there's no problem.
Yeah.
So lots to consider here. I think Ian did a good job of sort of just doing a nice summation of what's gone on with this over the past couple weeks. Trying to some takeaways from this, I think, are going to be that yes, you are probably going to have a harder time hitting an all-core overclock on an AMD CPU because of how they bend chips and because of the frequencies they run at. You are, however, getting more performance, or you're getting, like if you look at an Intel CPU that they're shipping you or an AMD CPU that they're shipping you, if you want to look at it a different way, an Intel CPU that they're shipping you, you're going to plug in and run, and it's going to get 85% of its potential performance. I'm making up that 85% number, by the way. Whereas the AMD CPU is going to get 97% of its potential performance or something, because they're running it closer to the metal. The last factor here, and the one that Intel was trying to rib AMD about, is it comes to longevity of processors. And when you talk about any given silicon and the testing that they do before they ship it in bulk, they're trying to make sure that they're not going to ship a bunch of processors that are running at a frequency that is going to degrade their performance, and suddenly they're not going to work in a year or two. A lot of processors are designed to function for 10 years or more, and according to Ian, that doesn't appear to be a concern when it comes to these AMD CPUs. So if any of you heard or read the Intel stuff about this and was like, oh no, is AMD shipping processors that are going to burn out in a couple years, that doesn't seem to be the case either.
Usually you always take a grain of salt when one company is talking shit on their competitor anyway, but it's good to hear that Ian's standing up for that.
So there it is. I think that just about sums it up. Again, check out the article. I actually read this entire article. It was well done. And I guess final upshot is, as I mentioned earlier, if you're running Ryzen 3000, check for your motherboard to have a UEFI available that has that AGESA code 1003-ABBA in it, and you should update to it because you should get a little bit more performance. One final thing, and I'm going to post this in chat. This is from our second segment, which is going to be a sword fight between me and Kyle. But I would like to hear your guys' opinion. Oh no, I can't post that in chat because it's not logged in. Never mind. Anyway, there's a straw poll in my video's description. Wait, I can do it here. Copy, paste. So you guys can go ahead and vote on that. It's about this issue in general, just looking for your opinion, and we'll come back to that and see what you guys think. In just a few minutes. All right, moving on.
That was good coverage, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle.
Well summarized.
I just read Ian's article and then regurgitated it.
No easy task.
Thank you. All right, next article's from WCCF Tech. This one falls into the rumor category, so it could all be lies. But this one is actually from our old friend Tum Apisak. on Twitter. Video Cards picked it up. I was going to do the Video Cards article, but WCCF Tech's article had more pretty pictures, so... Video Cards, step up your pretty pictures. Look at that Oris.
Slack it on the pics.
Motherboard shot right there. Anyway, next generation 400 series chipset motherboards have leaked, and the leak is sourced from a location that is somewhat viable, or should be somewhat viable, which is Gigabyte's EEC certifications. So early information about these motherboards, they appear to be 400 chipsets. There appear to be 4 variants of the 400 series chipset: Z490, H470, B460, and H410. And you can see in this little chart here the actual SKUs of the motherboards that were revealed. I don't really care about H410 or H470 or even B460, to be perfectly honest. I'm mainly focused on the Z490 because it's a point of not being able to overclock. But it does appear that we have a decent product stack. We have stuff like a Gaming X, a DS3H, which is going to be more mainstream, and M, maybe there's a micro ATX version, that'd be cool. Z490 white.
Weird.
So obviously a response to EVGA's Black Edition motherboards, right? Ultra durable Gaming X. Wait, there's an M Gaming X and a standard Gaming X. The Z490D if you want the D, and the Z490 Oris Elite. Super sexy. Great names. Very, very different
Very
than
creative.
what we've seen from Gigabyte in the past. Total of 35 motherboards. We're expecting these to launch alongside Intel's 10th generation Comet Lake-S processors. Desktop Comet Lake-S processors based on 10 nanometer. We've been waiting so long. Intel's been talking about 10 nanometer since like 2015, I feel like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Kept being pushed back, pushed back, pushed back. Wait, no, this isn't even 10 nanometer. What am I talking about? I'm lying to you guys.
It's still 14
This
plus,
is still
plus,
14
plus,
nanometer
plus,
plus.
plus. Ah. I mean, your point proven right there.
And my point proven. Right.
Don't hold your breath for 10
I
nanometer.
just had a brain aneurysm or something. Really, Intel? All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about this. We will talk about it. It is potential competition for AMD, the current leader in
How much more can
desktop
they
CPU
squeeze out of
technology.
this architecture?
All right. So,
Goodness.
if you want one, all right. So if you want one big slap in the face from this article, it's located. Where is it? Somewhere down here.
They need to call 10 nanometer Late Lake.
Late Lake.
If they called it Late Lake, all would be forgiven, just for the memes.
Right down here. The socket will be different and mentioned to be LGA 1200. Further confirmation.
49 more pins.
LGA 1200. Usually the LGA followed by the number indicates the pin count. We've been on LGA 1151 for a couple different generations now. 200 series and 300 series. And Intel, even though they didn't change the pin count, still forced you to upgrade to a 300 series motherboards for support for some of their 9000 series processors, which some people were, let's say,
Less than enthused.
not enthusiastic about, but I mean, it's pretty standard for Intel. That's how they've kind of been doing things. This seems to indicate that Intel is once again going to require you to upgrade your motherboard, upgrade your entire core system basically. I have to assume it's still going to be using DDR4 and stuff like that, so at least you could maybe bring your memory over if that's what you're currently using. But hey, 49 more pins in the socket.
What a whopping difference.
I think that should be their selling
That's
point.
reason enough to completely buy a new motherboard and
more pins.
reinstall everything.
This will support enthusiast 125 watt CPUs with up to 10 processor cores and 20 threads. 65 watt mainstream CPUs, 35 watt low power CPUs. The platform overall does have some nice features like integrated 802.11ax Wi-Fi, Thunderbolt 3. The integrated video is supposed to have Rec 2020 and HDR support, as well as HEVC 10-bit hardware decode and encode, as well as VP9 10-bit hardware decode. Not PCI Gen 4, still based on PCI Gen 3. But then the article goes on to seemingly indicate that we're going to have like more better stuff. These are some screen caps from XFastest, by the way. Like if you look at this chart they put over here, there's a Rocket Lake platform for 2021. Where did that come from? I haven't heard of this. And Intel, if you're really planning 14 nanometer stuff in 2021,
shame on you.
just stop it.
Stop
it. That's stupid.
Too much.
PCIe lanes, though, they're not pushing PCIe Gen 4 because who needs more bandwidth, but more PCIe lanes, which is what it seems to say and what it would seem to be on the face of it, because the platform mentions up to 46 I/O lanes, but 30 of those are provided by the chipset. So what does that mean to me? That means that we're still looking at a processor with 20 PCIe Gen 3 lanes. 16 are going to be off the CPU to go to expansion slots, and 4 are going through the chipset. And I don't care if they've expanded the number of muxed lanes off of the chipset. Like it's a switch.
Yeah.
It's a switch. You can't go off the switch and be like, now you can do 5 M.2 NVMe SSDs over there, because you're not going to get the full performance out of them, because it's going through a bottleneck, which is the chipset. Like, don't get me wrong, the I/O hub on these motherboards is nice. It provides you a lot of connectivity, but it is not it's not a replacement for raw PCIe lanes, either directly to a PCI Express expansion slot or to a dedicated M.2 slot on the board somewhere. So even this doesn't seem to indicate to me like it's going to be a big upgrade in that area. So Intel, 3-4 months from now, theoretically, at the beginning of 2020, is going to launch a new platform, still using 14 nanometer process technology, still using PCI Express 3.0. Meanwhile, AMD is going to be talking about Zen 3 Plus or Zen 4. I don't know. I mean, I'm not expecting that to come out early in the year or anything like that, but who knows? All I'm saying is, like,
they're slacking. They're really slacking.
The spectrum between like Intel and AMD, from AMD catching up, AMD has passed Intel on the mainstream platform.
Right.
I think it's pretty safe to say that at this point, even without seeing direct performance from this next lineup that comes out. All that Intel has to hope for is that suddenly AMD processors start dying in mass or something like that. Like, I don't know, but I feel like they've been out for long enough now that that's probably not going to happen. But anyway, we will keep an eye on this. I'm sure a lot of this is going to be coming out in the Computex CES time frame, which is going to be the 1st or 2nd week of January. So maybe we will, at the show, be able to see some of that stuff and talk about it. All right, let's move on.
Lame.
Sony has a new television. This is following up kind of on what I talked about last week in that $5,000 monitor or whatever. I like to talk about really unobtainable stuff, like Sony's new 63-foot, 16K resolution crystal LED TV.
63 foot.
63 foot, yes.
What?
As far as the
so it's a movie theater.
The corner to corner, yes.
A legitimate movie theatrical screen.
That's what the screen is aimed at commercial cinemas. But as of yesterday, Sony has announced the crystal LED display system will be available for home installation.
Oh yeah, sure.
For discerning homeowners,
celebrities and CEOs
who have
will be the only ones having this in their house.
If you have something that looks like this in your home, and don't we all, then you should probably buy this TV for $5 million.
This will slot in easily. $5 million.
$5 million.
What the fudge?
$5 million.
Oh, that's so.
Well, hold on, Kyle. I haven't told you some of the features.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can justify the price.
Like, it uses modular technology, which means it can accommodate virtually any desired size and resolution.
Oh.
So you buy your 63-foot 16K TV, and then you're like,
money.
I want to actually play games on like a 4-foot 4K portion of that TV, and I guess you could scale it down to that. Isn't that what you want to do, Kyle?
It's what I always dreamed of.
I have to hope it has like multiple inputs, so you can do like in
one HDMI
in Back
port.
to the Future 2 when he like calls up a bunch of shows to watch all at the same
time.
time.
Does it even have G-Sync?
We're getting to that. All right.
We're getting to that.
To answer your question, it does support frame rates up to 120p according to the article. I don't know if that means it actually has 120 hertz refresh rate. Yeah, that's just what the article says. I don't know. It's from Rob Report. Talk to Rob.
Refresh rate of 120p.
So it does seem to report 120 frames per second. Hertz, perhaps. No indication of whether it supports G-Sync or FreeSync. But
maybe
you'd like to hope for that much money.
Maybe HDMI 2.1 VRR.
Yes. once you update your graphics card. Yes, over 1,000,000 to 1 contrast ratio, which is probably bullshit. The most accurate light levels, low heat emission, and a picture quality that is absolutely breathtaking. Okay. It uses micro LED technology, in case you're wondering, which is similar to OLED, but it's got modules, 16 by 8 inch modules that it's built out of. Each module is 360 by 360 resolution, and they use those blocks to build the entire display. 3 tiny LEDs are in each pixel, which allows it to be a much brighter display with 1000 nits of brightness. Supports that 120 hertz refresh rate and nearly 180 degree viewing angle, which for a screen this big, I feel like viewing angle should be actually important for the people sitting at the edge of your home theater. You don't want them to be assed out. Sony has not actually released pricing, but each of the modules that it's built out of costs $10,000. So the 4K unit that they're building based on the same technology has 72 modules and therefore would be about $7,200. Sorry, $720,000. $720,000 for that 4K version. This 16K variant has 576 modules, which would mean it would cost upwards of $5 million.
Good lord.
Everyone,
go pre-order.
Pre-order today.
No. That's stupid. Wait for the reviews.
Indeed. All right. Oh, before I forget, we have one other question to ask people that Kyle and I are going to argue about when we get to sword fight. So I'm going to link that in chat. That one is about the Intel stuff that we talked about. So just in case you guys want to go ahead and start your votes on that one, let me know what you're thinking of Intel's upcoming. I put 10 nanometer on that, which isn't even correct. It's 14 nanometer. That's completely wrong. I've tricked myself somehow with that. All right, a couple more stories. However, for instance, Colonel Sanders is going to be available in a KFC dating sim.
Yes!
Yes, indeed.
I can't wait to play this.
There he is.
I've always wanted to date the Colonel.
Well, now you can, Kyle.
Look at how dashing he looks.
There's the Colonel.
They gave him like a whole makeover.
Colonel Sanders lifts a large bucket above his head. Its contents glimmer in the light.
This is like the greatest marketing scheme.
So this is like an anime dating sim. KFC just announced it. It stars a hunky anime version of KFC's mascot, Colonel Sanders, and it just dropped on Steam. So if you guys want to play this on Steam, you can.
He looks quite dashing.
He does.
In his new anime getup.
There he is. There's the Colonel. Anything for a fellow chef. You play a student at a culinary school, and your classmate, surprise, surprise, is the Colonel himself.
Your classmate?
Yeah,
is the Colonel?
He's just your
He's
classmate.
not the instructor?
No, that would be creepy if he's your instructor. That would not be...
Well, it's an anime dating sim. It's already creepy. Why not just roll with it
There's certain...
at that point?
There's certain, lines you don't cross when you're trying to, aim this at a wider audience, I'm sure.
Okay.
That's what it comes down to.
So you're saying we've been eating chicken all these years from a student, not even a college grad. Doesn't really paint the Colonel in a great light.
I didn't consider that aspect.
He's a degenerate student, probably doing cake stands on the weekends.
Son or something like that.
Yeah.
Or progeny. Or
Colonel Jr.
Who knows?
Sergeant.
Anyway, I'm sure we can write the fan fiction later.
Yeah.
But
we're already working on it.
Throughout your journey, you'll be faced with life-changing decisions that will affect your chances of friendship and love. But be careful, your choices have real consequences. With real animated characters' feelings at stake. With real animated characters' feelings at stake. I like how that's described.
Real animated character.
This is a fun.
That's the funny part. That's the funniest part. Real animated characters.
Ashley, are you suggesting I share the secrets of my special saltwater sauce with this novice? I'm disappointed in all of you. Look at these characters. I like their outfits. This is a... Anyway.
It's like... Yeah, I don't know.
This is the Colonel looking disappointed in something. Anyway, there's a video related to it. Includes 9 characters, multiple hours of playthrough, a secret ending, secret recipes, and of course, 11 herbs and spices.
Herbs and spices.
Being developed by Psyops, which is apparently known for developing a VR game called Kismet, which was positively reviewed, so Everyone go get it on Steam.
Can't wait for the McDonald's version where you get to date Ronald McDonald the Clown.
Well, they obviously are going to need to follow up with this, so
yeah,
need to answer back.
The responses will be glorious. All right. Well,
the Wendy's, when Wendy's does it, that's the one that there'll be like.
There'll be so much backlash on the Wendy's one.
No, the Wendy's
it'll
one.
It'll be a woman. All the feminists will be like, "How could you sexualize an American icon?"
No, they're empowering her through sexuality, I think. But that's
she was empowered dating 5 guys at a time.
If they're going with the same Wendy's like MO that they do with their Twitter, then that's the one that'll be over the top. You know, there'll be like bestiality involved and all the other stuff you were asking about.
Her boobs are square. Just like the patties. No.
Sorry. Let me put that together.
Okay.
Well done, Kyle. All right.
Sure.
One last little bit of tech news here. This is a device that you might be interested in if you're into streaming. I pulled it up because I thought it was somewhat interesting. I'm not sure if this is something I would get myself. It is a Blackmagic device. I've had positive and negative experiences with Blackmagic, but this is the ATEM Mini, which is going to allow you to take multiple HDMI-based sources and then mix between them. So there you go. You can also do a pass-through with an HDMI out. So it's a big HDMI switch that can also output the video signal via a USB-C port to your computer.
Okay.
So plug it into your computer, and your computer recognizes it as a webcam.
That's cool.
So that will allow you to take other computers with their HDMI connections or consoles, PCs playing games, cameras, connect them all up, switch between them. For some people who have multi-source, who do streaming from multiple sources, you know, if you're just a streamer and you stream from your PC and from multiple consoles, and then you have a dedicated streaming system that you try to pipe those all into, and you have to switch the inputs every time.
Yeah.
This would be
handy.
A great useful device for you. HDMI switchers can be very expensive. This one is not inexpensive, but it's not crazy expensive either. It's going to be $295.
Oh, that's not bad.
Should hit the market in November 2019. Only real downside is that it tops out at 1080p. Some people might be looking for 4K support for something like this with HDMI 2.0, but
does it have a refresh rate?
Somewhat. That's another good question. I would guess that it's 1080-60, but
I would
probably
think
have
at least
to look more directly at the specs.
Yeah, at least 1080-60.
To figure that out for sure.
All right.
But I would assume it supports 1080-60.
It's pretty slick.
Yeah. So anyway, the ATEM Mini from Blackmagic. If you guys are into streaming and stuff, then maybe you're interested in that.
Coolio.
That's all for my news.
What?
We do have a sponsor for today's video.
Oh!
Yes, we do.
Okay. Here he is. AOC.
AOC is our sponsor for today.
The AOC AG271FZ2 LED 27-inch monitor. It's got 240 hertz refresh rate, 0.5 millisecond response time. I believe this is a VA panel.
Yeah, I believe it is as well.
Which is definitely a step up above the TN displays I'm used to. It's got shadow control, game color, a nice three-way stand from the looks of it. Yeah, this is very. But I think the specialty here was warranty, right?
Well, we were
warranty.
definitely supposed to mention the warranty because it's got a very nice warranty. Shows. Oh, there's the.
It warrants mentioning.
Yes, it does warrant mentioning. So the Aegon series is a series of AOC's more premium gaming monitors. There's some information about the entire range here, and I thought there was going to be a warranty thing, but there's not. Let's go back to Kyle. Kyle!
Yes.
What are you doing?
Is that me?
What?
Wait, go back to me? Like, as in, we're done with the sponsor spot?
No.
Oh.
I was just throwing it back to you to talk more about...
Oh, yes. Yeah, I like this display. It's a nice display. It's good. It's good for gaming and things. It's got low input lag. And adaptive refresh rate. I believe it has FreeSync 2 on board. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul. But
yeah, this one does support FreeSync.
Yeah, and I can't remember off the top of my head if it's G-Sync compatible certified, but there is a fair chance that this will work with certain GeForce cards as well. And I like the way it looks. Black and silver, can't go wrong. Very color neutral. And thank God my address isn't displayed at the front there. I didn't even think to check first, but
here it is. Sorry it took me a while to get to this. All right. AMD's warranty program for their monitors, in case you aren't familiar, is called Respond. It's a warranty program. They have different warranty periods, but for their AGON monitors like this one, you have a 4-year warranty, which is real nice. You also get a 1-year support. You get 4-year zero dead pixel warranty, 4-year advanced replacement warranty, 1-year one-time accidental damage warranty. So you damage the monitor yourself via your own stupid things, whatever you want to do, and you're still covered. So that's nice as well. Like even if you're being abducted by an alien and he breaks your monitor, AOC's right there with the warranty. There's some other details there on the AOC warranty program. So check it out. And then otherwise, we have the AGON series, which is really high refresh rate monitors. You should show the others. I mean, it's just the box right now.
Yeah.
When Kyle's doing his half, I'll take it out of the box and stuff as well.
We'll literally whip it out in front of you.
Yeah, but we gotta wait for Kyle to get to his half.
Yep.
0.5 millisecond response time, low input lag, 240 hertz display with adaptive sync.
I said that.
I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to reiterate. 240 hertz. That's
very fast.
Yeah.
Very fast display.
Okay.
Thank you, AOC.
And a big thank you to AOC for
being our biggest
sponsoring awesome hardware.
For sponsoring the largest products that we've seen on the show.
Much obliged, guys. All right. Let's move on. To my last segment.
Whoa.
Which is, I don't have a lower thirds for it. Wait, I don't want to mess up hot and heavy hardware.
Don't mess it up.
Because you're doing hot and
Don't
heavy
you dare
hardware.
taint that segment. It's our golden child.
Sword fight. There it is. All right. Sword fight. Sword fight is a segment where Kyle and I argue about stuff.
I'm getting another beer. You want another beer?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
You want a Boddington's or a hazy? Did you like the hazy? Do you like the hazy?
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like a Boddington's. Okay. Just to mix it up.
I knew you hated it.
All right. It's time for Sword Fight. Kyle and I argue about stuff. Fortunately, Kyle's already been familiarized with what we're arguing about today, so hopefully he doesn't miss anything. 2 questions, though. And these are all based on the news articles that we already went over earlier, so you guys should also be familiar with them. But is the AMD Ryzen 3000 Turbo issue a big deal? It was one of the things that I kept going back and forth about over this past week, because I saw a decent amount of people talking about it, but then I feel like it wasn't something that everyone picked up on and got mad about or anything. So maybe some people are more angry about it than others. But we've hopefully already had a decent amount of time for people to argue about this. Kyle, what's your thoughts? What do you think about the Ryzen 3000 Turbo issue? Make your choice.
I guess, I didn't even read all these options. I'm just going to say, no, I don't think it's a big deal.
Okay, Kyle says, no, it's not a big deal.
This is my genuine,
Why, Kyle?
It's a gray area. It's really a gray area, but just for the sake of arguing, I'll say, I will argue that no, it's not a big deal. It's a very small amount of performance that's left on the table that wasn't promised. But I think more or less it's just a misunderstanding. I feel like it wasn't like AMD was trying to pull a fast one on customers. It wasn't like they were being deceptive. They just have a different definition of turbo boosting or turbo boost frequencies. They do it differently than Intel, who everyone has been used to using for a long time. We've been used to Intel's definition of turbo, and I don't think AMD should be reprimanded too harshly for simply having a different way of doing things. I think I definitely empathize and understand why people freaked out initially, because they thought they were being ripped off, or they thought they were being deceived, potentially intentionally. But at the end of the day, I think we've pretty much debunked that theory, and that AMD wasn't really trying to slide one over us. They just have a different method of how their hardware operates. So at the end of the day, and they patched it. They patched it fine. They listened to people and they said, oh yeah, okay, if that's what you're expecting, then we'll go ahead and turn that on for you and make it right. So at the end of the day, I don't think it really hurt anyone. I think it was just I think the word of the day here is kerfuffle when it comes down to this. So
okay,
it happens.
I obviously need to argue against you, so I will say yes. My opinion of Ryzen is forever tarnished, and I think this could have been solved from the get-go by AMD simply being a little bit more conservative with the frequencies that they were advertising. And I think even if they pulled the top-end frequencies of their 3000 series processors, their advertised turbo speeds back by like 100 megahertz on each one. Like, they can't do that now. It's too late. They've already brought them out, and they would look like they were going down. Back. But if they had done that from the get-go, this wouldn't have been an issue because everyone would have seen the performance that they're expecting to see. I think AMD, I like that they play the game a little bit closer to the edge of things. I like that they push things a little bit further out of the box, but I think they just pushed a little bit too far. They didn't give themselves the wiggle room that you kind of need when you're talking about, sending out thousands or more tens of thousands of a given product like that. And there's going to be enough people. If there's enough people who are given the impression that they're not getting their money's worth out of it, then you're going to be faced with a backlash. And that's absolutely what AMD does not need, because they're in a pretty good position right now, I think, when it comes to comparative to Intel and everything. So it sucks. I'm never using Ryzen ever again. That might be a little bit over the top, but let's see what you guys think.
I think not really,
Results.
but I'm still glad it's going to be the top one.
Not really, but I'm still glad.
And then I win after that.
Kyle wins after that. Only 17 votes for opinion forever tarnished. Quite a few people just thinking about September, man. Like, doesn't it? Like, I was thinking about that. I'm like, man, September just started. It's already the 17th.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But September, I feel like it's one of those months.
Didn't August just start?
It's wedged between like summer ends and then you have September.
Yeah.
Usually school has started, so everyone's all kind of busy, like getting back to school, stuff like that.
Right.
And even if you work through the summer and everything, it's still like this transition from summer into the fall.
Yeah.
And the fall becomes like the Q4 crunch time, like gotta sell as much as possible and all that nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So September it's just gone in a flash.
Poof, vaporized.
Yeah. Sucks.
Makes you wonder just how quickly life will go by.
Makes you wonder, you should just end it all.
Like your
Wait,
laptop.
no, that's not what I was.
No, don't say that.
I forgot to plug in my laptop.
Oh.
I should do that.
Is that why it's going to sleep? Or is that why it's
That's why
turning the screen off?
monitor went off. The screen went off there for a second.
I put the little plug down there.
You did. It's very conveniently placed. All right, let's do one more sword fight question so I can end my half. Based on the rumors, how are you feeling about Intel's upcoming? I put 10 nanometer, but that was totally wrong. It's just me rushing to get the show going. It's 14 nanometer.
Is it plus now?
Plus, I don't know how many pluses are on it, but how you guys feel about it, that's all.
Yeah.
We were expecting maybe a desktop launch this year. It really doesn't seem like that's going to happen now. We're probably waiting until January. So what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I guess I get to go first this time, don't I?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to say I wasn't no. I'm going to say I reserve judgment until post-launch reviews are out. How about that, Cal?
Boo, what a terrible logical argument.
We're sitting here,
Stupid.
we've got rumors, speculation. We don't even know if it's going to be completely 14 nanometer on this new platform. What if they come out and they're like, hey, we've got 14 nanometer and 10 nanometer options there. We don't know. This is a WCCF Tech article. These guys are full of shit.
Can we get that in writing?
I mean, they're not. I've met a few of the WCCF Tech.
You're going to get a strongly worded email tomorrow morning.
How dare you, Paul? How dare
Paul
you?
Hardware.
No. So yeah, it's fun to get excited about the upcoming new hardware, the new stuff. We talk about it a lot because it's always like, what's going to be the next big performance boost? What's going to normalize the prices of the stuff that's already out there so I can get something I've had my eyes on for a while for less money than I would have had to pay for it otherwise. Those are the things that, you know, it benefits the consumers. But there's just too much speculation that goes on, and we don't know what's actually going to happen. So we shouldn't formulate our opinions too early, because then we go into it with a preconceived notions of what's going to happen, and that can tarnish or otherwise influence our opinions of it. Whereas we should go into a launch like this with an open mind. We should give Intel the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure it's going to be great, and we'll just chill the fuck out, right?
No, not right, Paul.
Oh,
that was too much of a cool, calm, and collected response with too much logic and patience built in. That it's just wrong, and it's not a typical 2019 reply. In this day and age, that is just way too antiquated of a reply and understanding. So this launch is going to suck. I'll just tell you right now, okay? They're still on 14. They got to add a fourth fucking plus to it. It's not even a new name. It's just another plus. And besides, we're expecting them to blow AMD out of the water because AMD just did that to them. And so you want to see a good rebuttal from Intel. They kind of need this to sort of save face at this point. And what are we seeing? What do we just talk about on Paul's half? We're seeing the same rehashed bullshit. We're seeing the same fucking mechanic of, you got to upgrade your motherboard again, folks. 49 new pins. It's a game changer. So go ahead and start, shelling out your cash. And oh, by the way, also, you got to upgrade to the more expensive motherboard if you want to overclock. That's still a fucking thing. It's like they either haven't learned any lessons whatsoever from this whole debacle, which explains why they're now in second place, or they have learned, but they already started manufacturing and developing this platform too long ago, to the point where they're already committed to it. And it's going to be another generation or two before they actually get to steer that big-ass ship of theirs around. So at the end of the day, I think Intel is going to make a comeback, and I think eventually they're gonna hit AMD hard. I really do think that they are going to hit AMD hard at some point, but they're just too big of a fucking company to make it happen this quickly. And so this is a platform that I am fully ready to skip. The dramatic pour.
That's fair enough, Kyle. That's reasonable. Let's watch that build.
If you pour it, it will build. If you build it,
the logo.
They will pour. All right.
People in chat are gonna be complaining about my pour. The foam is right there, guys. By the way, this is all just building.
It's almost like a nitro.
That's just building right there.
Very similar.
It's so fun to watch the bottom of it when it does that. Okay. Thank you, Kyle, for your rebuttal.
Yeah.
Let us see what the audience has to say.
Mm-hmm.
Results. I remain unexcited. It looks like Kyle wins again. Remaining unexcited.
Hey.
I was reminded that we haven't done sword fight in a while, and I feel like, hey, but we did pick the two very much most picked responses there.
That's
so
good.
I'd say we both kind of win.
We're both winners.
In that, when you look at it from that perspective.
Sure.
But guys, that's going to do it for my half of the show.
Yay.
So we're going to cut off my show on YouTube and jump over to Kyle's half. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Twitch, just stay right where you are. All right, so I did end up with a decent amount of head on there, but I'm going to have a sip of this.
It's a lot less than what it looked like initially, though.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a Boddingtons in years.
I do enjoy Boddingtons.
Gotta love that honey.
Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this one. Shout-outs to your everyday tech who has still very consistently been doing timestamps for awesome hardware, which we greatly appreciate.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for that. We'll be right back, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.